Best practices, worst practices. Before we get to some of the best practices, worst practices, I wanted to pose a question to the panel based on sort of the importance of centers or entrepreneurship curriculum and programming being interdisciplinary. If maybe they could talk about that from their perspective. It's the importance of interdisciplinary programming or curriculum on campus. Maybe we'll maybe begin with you and Tammy and we'll start. Okay. Far side? What? The science is okay.
Okay, should I stand or just
whatever you want to do.
Okay. I'll try to speak sitting now. It's a very strange situation. Usually I give my lectures standing. The students give standing ovations at that. So the first question, if I understand the definition of interdisciplinary entrepreneurship, the relationship of entrepreneurship with different disciplines. Of course, this is, for scientists, is a real challenge in a way. Because, first of all, I'm talking about mostly people working in physics and chemistry, and biology and earth sciences. To some certain extent in medicine, biomedicine. So they basically have to acknowledge the existence of a real or altered world. Because there's so much interest in their own work, usually, they don't really have time to think about things like business and how to combine their inventions with business. And of course, they should have a kind of interest towards producing something useful. I don't know how you familiar you are with the terminology of science these days. In recent days, it used to be put like there's basic science and applied science and then research and development. And these days, they don't talk about this like this anymore. There's two terms for basic science now. What is the blue sky science? So you don't have to think about what's going on in the world. You just look at the sky, you think about yourself, and you do research. And the other word is curiosity-driven research. Okay? So again, you don't have to think about anything but your own internal curiosity. So when we talk about being a scientist and an entrepreneur, first you have to come to terms with your own self. And you have to convince yourself that you have to produce something new and useful for society. And then there should be an initiative, a motive to live a little bit better. Because scientists are usually not wealthy people. They're living at relatively good standards, but some people think about also, get some money at the side. From science, you don't get money at the side. If you want to get some money from the real world, with your real tools, then you have to work extra hours and extra things, of course. And then, obviously, every entrepreneur has to take some receptivity towards taking risks. Because you're putting time in, you're actually robbing your own career from your time. Because your scientific career won't advance while you're doing your little side projects. And this is very important, I think, also when you have to take this risk, you actually try to figure out how you can work better. If you do real research and publish more papers and get more citations, or actually doing the other way and producing something towards the market. So for this first, I think I'm finished now.
Okay. Both Pablo and Elena, you come from institutions with a strong research capability. Would you like to provide some input?
I think that in general, I want to speak about the challenges which have research universities in general, and MBA schools now today, if we deal with entrepreneurship. First of all, the question, okay, we have competences in research, how it's related to the real life and the business life, how to create entrepreneurship skills on the basis of our research, that's possible or not. And if we try to answer your question on this question, we try to develop some kind of community including institution, educational institution, business, member of entrepreneurship society. Sometimes it's successful, but sometimes not, because educational institution thinks that they understand the life, but business think that they have no connection to the life, the real problem of business. And the problem in this dialogue, this dialogue, how to create a common language between business who deals with the practice and educational institution which deals with the research, with the science, with some abstract concept. Second challenge we have today is family business succession, because from my experience I deal with training for the family business. Okay, normally we will speak about entrepreneurship. We ask people who will want to start their own business and try to promote the competences which needed to create the business. But okay, what's happened with the succession? Maybe outside the business, new successor comes into the business and has to take a business which may be huge, which maybe have hundreds employees. How to manage? How to be a leader in this business? I think that's a big question. Unfortunately, we have no answer. We have no, unfortunately, I think that's some kind of worst practice. We have no answer, and we have no special program. Maybe our colleagues will also provide some kind of advice how to do it. And okay, I think that's a third challenge for the MBA school. Does MBA education help to the entrepreneur? Does it help to provide entrepreneurship skills in the society or not? Because some investigations show that after MBA school, students who finish MBA schools don't want to start their own business. So, because they prefer to have lower risk, they don't prefer to have some problem in taking risks and making decisions. So, what we have to do in this way also is, I think, a big question for us, for the institution, and for us as employees. Okay, so it's some kind of answer, maybe not an answer, but some kind of part of question. Okay, maybe my colleagues could do something with this question and answer, or maybe some kind of
Okay. I think we'll get to that question in a moment. Elena, do you want to provide a response to the question of interdisciplinary education?
I think that is a very good idea to exchange the knowledge, how to exchange the solution, which different educational different educational institutions have in this way. How your educational institution develop entrepreneurship skills, and how you help the family business to make succession.
Okay. So Elena, in your institution, in what areas is entrepreneurship taught? It taught in business, taught in the sciences, in engineering?
University Aspegren Importance, and most of them currently economics and very important because marketing is one of the sphere which has very high development now. I mean, internet marketing, and we have not only in educational tools, but also in different research and papers which can help us to realize our education progress. So I think that with knowledge and skills we can receive only in collaboration with our business partners.
Great. Commentary from the moderator. I completely agree with you. Entrepreneurship marketing is a course that still trying to get on the books of Ohio University as an elective. To me, I mean, as entrepreneurs, we must understand radical, expeditionary, and guerrilla marketing. It's just absolutely critical. So, thanks, intro. So Tammy, maybe a little bit of the background or experiences with interdisciplinary entrepreneurship education in your institution?
Yeah, and I think the first thing honestly is really challenging this idea of coming up with the definition of entrepreneurship. Because I think if we stay firm in the concept that entrepreneurship is about business and it's about a business course, then you stay rooted in the fact that, well, it's a business, so it should be interdisciplinary because it becomes, really, to Dean's point, it's something you can do off the side. And I think we have to look at the facts of what we're facing as a global economy. Unemployment, especially unemployment for youth, is huge. And then you want to look at the fact that, to go back to the internet, I think it was, it's great when we talked about the fact that we don't actually know how many jobs people will have. We know a lot about millennials. We know that, people are very loud, sorry. But we know a lot about millennials. We know that on average, they'll want to keep a job maybe 3 years. You can't say that you won't want to open a business at one point. You have no idea, right? And back to the stats, that 52% of the businesses are small and medium. They have no idea. It is not our job to train you for your first job, right? It's our job to train you for what the skills you're going to need. So for the first part, I don't think we can say that entrepreneurship isn't relevant, because I think we have no idea where the future generation is going to go. But then when you look into disciplinary, you look at medicine. Right? Look at where medicine is changing. How are we going to deal with health? Right? It's going to become privatized, and more even in the states that don't have private medicine now. How do you deal with marketing? In my world, the people in business, I'm in business. I have friends who do marketing. Right? I can find the accounting support. Right? I can get that. You're in medicine, your friends are doctors. They're brilliant. They can't help you. You need the skills from entrepreneurship. I think it's more critical. Interdisciplinary, because we need all of those skills to be able to translate in those other areas. So from our perspective, from an institution, it's not about teaching the business, it's about teaching you the skills that you might need on one of those future paths, regardless of where you're going to end up.
Great point, Tammy. And with that, I will sort of change the question a little bit for Dean Sherman, since you follow on that. At Ohio University, you have a entrepreneurship major for college business students, but you also have a certificate for non-business students. Can you talk a little bit about that certificate and why that was created?
So, and I guess, I'm agreeing with the panelists. So, if you think about it, if you're an engineering student and you've designed a new product, or if you're a scientist and you've designed a new drug, I would suggest that you don't necessarily need to have an MBA, right? I mean that is time consuming, and why would you have to take 2 or 3 courses in accounting and finance and so forth? Go out there and you can hire an accountant. But I would suggest that there are some broad understanding of what a business system is, and what are the things that you have to take into consideration to actually commercialize that intellectual property that you've developed. So what we've done is we've designed a certificate program that's interdisciplinary, that business students aren't allowed to take. So it's 1 or 2 courses that talk about, in very broad terms, about what a business model is, how would you set up a business, what accounting means, how I interpret the statements, not how I construct the statement. And then the rest of the certificate courses are within your discipline. So the other courses are for example, in the engineering course, you know, a course that might be included in the certificate would be a design course. So where you're actually, you know, hands-on building a new product to solve a problem. And that would be part of the certificate program. So I think to make it interdisciplinary is critical because there's a different skill set that's needed if you're, you know, depending on what your background is, whether you're a scientist or whether you're an engineer. And you don't need the in-depth of a business degree, you just have to have some general understanding of principles. And then the rest of the courses you take within your discipline that apply, you know, so that you can become more creative in the particular area of which you're